Welcome back, guys, to another video. It's 4:35 in the morning, and I'm out here in the parking lot of my gym. It opens at 5. I get up around 3:40 in the morning. I stretch, take care of what I need to in the morning, brush my teeth, all that good stuff, get my workout stuff ready. And the gym is about, I say, maybe 12, 13 minutes away from my house. So it's not a long drive. Um, I don't know what you guys think, but there's an emptiness that I sometimes feel. I don't know if you guys feel it too, and it mostly comes in my times of solitude, just like this. Solitude meaning by myself. And when I talk to people about meditation and the difference between meditation and prayer, is meditation comes in all forms. Meditation doesn't mean you have to be sitting in a Indian style and humming and having your fingers like this. No, that's just the illustration for mainstream. There are many forms, just like there are many ways that people can pray. You don't necessarily have to get on your knees and pray. You could pray standing up. You don't have to have your hands like this. You could be in all sorts of different postures when you're praying. But the difference between praying and meditation, well, first of all, prayer is useless. And many people have made themselves believe that it was through prayer that they got through this and that. You didn't have to pray to get through anything. What you were doing was, prayer is a watered down version of meditation. Whereas prayer, you're talking to some external power to help you, which is a form of meditation because you're talking. Is no different than a person going to see their therapist, right? You sit with your therapist and you're talking outwardly to your therapist about your issues, but you're not asking your therapist to heal you. Your therapist has certain questions, and your therapist they'll afford you the opportunity to answer those questions. And most of the problems that we have as a human race is a lack of human connection. And I think the reason why people go to therapists is not that the therapist has the magic wand to heal you of any type of mental anguish that you're going through. It just happens to be that the therapist is available and there, using their ears to listen, asking you certain questions that are guided in order to, produce or reach a particular outcome. So people who go to the therapist, they normally feel better because they have someone that they're talking to, and that's what prayer is. Prayer is more so you talking outwardly to some entity that you think has your best interest at heart. And the reason why I say prayer is a watered down version of meditation, because meditation takes completely out the outward reach. It's all about you looking within yourself, and that's more challenging. It's much easier to pray outwardly for some power out there to come help you. That's the weakest state that you can be in. That's the worst state you can be in from a spiritual and a psychological perspective, because it's a position of desperation. Meditation says, I understand what's going on. Now I'm going to have to look within myself to figure this out. And that's how you build strength. The watered down version of prayer, the reason why it's a watered down version, the watered down version of meditation, which is prayer, is the fact that it is some kind of form of meditation, because especially if you're praying alone, not with a group of people, if you're say you go in your closet and you're praying, it's a form of therapy to yourself, as I said before, because it seems like you're talking to somebody or something out there that's not responding to you. Most of you guys pray, you're not having a conversation with this God that you're talking about. This God that you're praying to doesn't even hear you anyway. But it's you talking things out. It's you aligning your mental state with the realities that you're living in. Because I believe that the first inaugural stages of mental illness is when you are misaligned, when one thing you're thinking one thing but your reality says something else, and you fail to bring yourself to contend with the reality. So I'll give you an example. If this is something that anyone could relate to. Let's say you have a bill that's due and you don't have the money for it, but in your mind you're like, oh, I know God's going to provide, I'm not worried about it. But your reality says you have to somehow worry about it, because you have to address this issue, because this bill is coming up, you don't have the funds. Oh, I'm not worrying about it, God's going to provide. When you have that misalignment, that feeds into mental illness. This is why a lot of people who are deep into religion, they have a disconnect with reality. They always like to say Jesus this, Jesus that, Jesus this. They don't have plans. They just have plans for prayer, or they tell you to go to this person to pray for you, or go to this church, you're going to get your breakthrough. Then you have some Christians who will pray, but they still put in the groundwork, which is hypocrisy to me, because if you're praying to some God, then he should do everything for you. Then people will say, well, no, faith without works is dead. Then what's the point of the faith? If faith without works is dead, then just get rid of the faith part, just work. See, meditation is work. You have to look within yourself. All right? Prayer is me sitting my ass at home, not going to the gym, not eating right, but praying for God to keep me healthy. But then I'm eating the way the average American eats. I'm going to fast food restaurants. I'm eating all the processed foods. I'm eating all the junk foods, but I'm praying to God. I'm praying over my junk food. I'm praying over my toxic laced food for this God to come spiritually bless the food. How can any God bless toxicity? So why don't you, if you remove the external reach for some external power to save the day, you will find yourself more responsible. You'll hold yourself responsible. You'll be more accountable to the things that you do. You'll be more accountable and responsible for the things you put inside your body. You'll be more self-motivated to get up and do something about your issues, which is what I do, which is all forms of meditation. See, life, you're either seeking for somebody to help you, or you're looking within yourself to help yourself. And that's the best way to live. So the emptiness that oftentimes comes with me personally, and not saying that the way I live is perfect, the emptiness that comes with me is that in moments of solitude, because I think so much, and I believe that keeping myself busy, I have 3 kids. I mean, that alone, you guys see some of my videos, you hear them in the background. So there's always action at my house. There's hardly ever moments of total silence. Most of my silent times are in my vehicle, to be honest with you. Because once I step in the house, it's a whole different ball game. And I'm not complaining about that. I know every moment you go through in life has its purpose. There's a time for me to have my quiet time, which are moments like this. And there are times when I don't have my quiet time, and that's okay. That's a balance to me. But there are times when I'm in my state of solitude where I'm thinking, and I'm like, because I'm a thinker naturally, and I'm like, no, what is the purpose of this life? What? And it's not so much my personal purpose, because I think that's where we get, self-absorbed, where we think, some specific deity died for us and everything was for us. No. And then sometimes I come to the conclusion, or I come to the assertion, I start to tell myself, I'm like, well, maybe there is no particular purpose. Maybe we're just a product of an experiment by extraterrestrials that built us. Maybe there's a grander plan that doesn't have my individual fingerprints on it. Maybe I'm just one in a million. Just like if I'm walking on the ground and I step on an ant on accident, right? That's just one ant. Life goes on. If I die today, life goes on, right? Life doesn't stop. My wife and my kids will feel the hit emotionally, my mom, my siblings, but time after a while, people get over it, people move on. There's no there's no individual purpose. I believe that is a grander purpose with humanity as a whole. And going back to the Tower of Babel, I think that was the one time when humanity was unified, and we were able to accomplish great feats until the so-called God that you guys call God, which is not even God, a created being, came and used its technological advancements to confuse us, to have different languages, genetically modify us to look like the leaders who led us. Because remember, that race of beings that came from above, the ones that people call angels or fallen angels or Anunnaki beings, whatever name you want to call them, they were multi civilization, meaning that just like you have different civilizations on Earth, you have Earthlings, you have different races of Earthlings. You have, melanated race, you have Mongoloids, the Negroid, the Caucasian, the Dravidian. You have all different types of races on Earth. You just don't have one type of people. And that's what the Anunnaki beings were. They weren't just like one type of race. They were a multifaceted race of beings. Most of them had dark skin complexions, some blue-black. None of them were like pale skin or what you would consider to be white. But each one had dominion over particular regions of the world, and then they were able to brand those who they led with a genetic marker, and that genetic marker was the phenotypes of their leader. So if a leader was what we consider today black, even though I hate using that term black, if a leader was a black Anunnaki being with dark skin, well, the people that he led would be dark skin like him. It's like if a man owns cattle, a bunch of cattle, and he brands his cattle. Our genetic markers or dispositions were branding, and that deepened the divide of humanity. You have the racial divide, you have the language barrier, and you have the imaginary lines. And I say imaginary lines, it means like, the borders of different countries and different continents. You had all that. So we're just a divided race. And I believe that it's not about your individual pursuits of happiness, even though that does matter. I'm not telling people not to pursue contentment or happiness or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that it's much bigger than your individual pursuit or your individual endeavors. And I think that's where I feel that emptiness, because I feel as a human race, we are very disconnected. It's perpetuated by mainstream media as well, of course, even in this political arena, where you have two main parties and people fighting over who's going to come in and enact certain policies and legislation to remedy many of the social ills or social dilemmas that we find ourselves in. It's much more bigger than that. Our conquerors and our rulers, they understand the human psyche better than we do. And it's become a normal construct of our existence to live divided, to the point where it's okay, it's normal. And that's a psychotic way of living. When something that's illogical becomes put in a state of being logical, that's an illness. That's not right. We're divided. We all come from Source, as I've said before in many videos. When I say Source, the ultimate creator of the universe, the ultimate creator of the multi-universe, the ultimate creator of everything. It's not a gender. It's not a he or she. It's not a male or a female. It's a force, a vibration, a frequency. It's not what you guys think. But our brains have been so dumbed down as simpletons that we believe that this created being that calls himself a god is the God that created everything, and that's not true. These are just beings from another planet that did this. That's what I believe. Now, you don't have to believe what I believe. You could believe in the Bible narrative. That's fine. If that's your route. I'm not here to disrespect anybody's personal beliefs. I'm just sharing with you guys what I believe. And that disconnect that I feel, or that emptiness, or that void, is part of growth, because running away from reality doesn't solve your problems, nor does it get you stronger. Sometimes it's needed that you face the reality that you're in. You know, to put your face in the sand and to act as if nothing's going on. That's a coward. That's a coward way of living. That's a cowardly existence. And I choose to refrain from living like that. Yeah, that's where it comes in. And I don't think I'll ever find it. I'm never gonna find my personal purpose. I mean, I have children. I know being the best father that I can to them, loving on them, and having that synergy between us, being a good husband to my wife. I mean, all those things are good, because, you know, that's a challenge in itself. Let's not forget that. You know, being a family, having a family and being a family, man, in this day and age is difficult, because there's so much thrown at the family today that you have to be very well grounded to make sure that you keep your house intact. And I have my work, my job, the gym that I go. So there are things that keeps me busy, you know. But I think that, you know, when they say that the idle time is the devil's workshop, is definitely true if you're not grounded. But I don't have idle time. I don't have too much idle time. And when I do have idle time, I'm meditating. I'm meditating because I have some sort of a foundation that's far away, that people will consider fringe and relative to what the normal human experience is. I don't think like normal people. I don't even like what the average person likes. I really don't. Sometimes I look at myself, I'm like, man, am I even from here? Am I from Earth? Because a lot of things that excites people, that doesn't excite me. And this is not because of my age. Even when I was younger, it was the same thing. It's almost as some of the things that I did when I was younger, I was forcing myself to fit in. And I think, knowing what I know now, I was always different, and I should have just embraced my uniqueness at a younger age. And maybe I would be far better off than I am today. But I'm fine, though. I'm not complaining. Like I said, I'm content. All right, it's 4:53. They're gonna, like, around 4:55, they start opening the door. Have several cars already in the parking lot. All right, guys. Oh, man. I have a HIIT workout that I'm doing today, man. Battle ropes, burpees. Oh, my God. It's tough, man. But I tell you what, when I'm done, I feel like Superman when I'm done. After I take my shower and I get out of here, I'm like floating on clouds, man. So thank you guys for listening and indulging me. I probably didn't have a direction with this video. I just wanted to share with you guys what was on my mind and what was in my thoughts. Thank you guys for listening. All right.